We appreciate you being here with us today as we discuss the murder of 4-month-old baby Sterling Koehn, one of the most horrific and terrible examples of child maltreatment in recent times. The tragedy not only stunned the little overall town of Alta Vista, but it also attracted world attention because of the horrifying facts of the infant's neglect and suffering. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Aiman, and here is my teams for the case study: Ashi, Auni, Dorani, and Farah. In this presentation, we will explore the key aspects of the case, including the background of this case, such as the fact of the case, the incident chronological of the case, the investigations led by law enforcement and medical professionals, the critical role of forensic entomology in establishing the timeline of neglect, and the legal proceedings that resulted in the convictions of his parents, Zachary Paul Koehn and Koehn Harris. Through the exploration, we aim to understand not only the tragic circumstances of Sterling's death, but also the importance of entomology involvement in this case. To start the understanding, Sterling Koehn was found dead in his parents' apartment on August 30, 2017, with acute malnourishment and dehydration. His small body was found in a nappy covered with maggots. The horrifying circumstances surrounding Sterling's discovery presented a sobering image of severe neglect and parental failure. So, adding more details of this case, my teammates will present on this, so I will pass to the next presenter.
This is Sterling Koehn, a 4-month-old infant whose tragic story shocked a community and led to the conviction of his parents for first-degree murder and child endangerment, resulting in death. Sterling's parents, Koehn Harris and Zachary Koehn, were both found guilty of this charge. Let's dive into the details of this heartbreaking case. Zachary Koehn, Sterling's father, entered a plea of not guilty. His six-stage jury trial took place in October and November of 2018. Koehn claimed that Koehn Harris was the primary caretaker of Sterling. Koehn testified that he was working 70 to 80 hours per week and was unaware that Harris had stopped caring for Sterling. He said he was shocked by the Sterling death, initially thinking it was due to the sudden infant death syndrome. However, the state introduced evidence to challenge the Koehn credibility. His employer's testimony and Woodlock did not support his claim of working for long hours. Furthermore, the small size of the family's apartment and the proximity of Koehn and Harris' bedroom of two Sterling rooms suggested that Koehn could not have been unaware of Sterling's distress or the smell from the neglected condition. The jury convicted Koehn as charged. He was sentenced to life in prison on the first-degree murder charge, with his child endangerment conviction merging into the murder conviction under the one homicide rule. Koehn Harris was also sentenced to life in prison on the first-degree murder conviction. The jury received specific instruction for the charge of the child endangerment resulting in death, detailing that Harris willfully deprived the Sterling of necessary food, water, healthcare, or supervision leading to his death. Before the trial, Harris planned to call Dr. Michael O'Hara, a clinical psychologist, as an expert witness. He diagnosed her with severe major depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, severe substance-involved methamphetamine. However, the prosecution argued that despite her diagnosis, Harris could still perform her daily activities such as driving to the grocery store and posting on the Facebook about fashion and her dog, while Sterling was dying in another room. In the end, the court affirmed Harris' judgment and sentence for the first-degree murder. The tragic case of Sterling Koehn served a grim reminder of the consequences of the neglect and the responsibilities of parenthood.
Moving on to the chronological order of the incident, the case started on August 30, 2017, around 12:57 p.m. on a seemingly normal day in Alta Vista, Iowa, when a chilling 911 call came in from 28-year-old Zachary Koehn. With an unusual calmness, he reported finding his 3-month-old son, Sterling Koehn, unresponsive in a powered swing set.
About 11 or 11:30, doing the check on him, and he was gone.
Upon arrival at the scene located at Hilltop Avenue apartment, which is a modest complex on East Main Street, the first responders were greeted by a powerful stench. Following Zachary's lead, they were taken to a dark, isolated room. There, in a powered swing set, lay Sterling, lifeless with blood trickling over his mouth. The paramedics' initial assessment was extremely grim. Sterling's diaper was saturated, clearly unchanged for days. Maggots have crawled all over his skin and clothing. His body was cold and stiff, suggesting that he had been dead for quite some time. And the swing was located in a room separate from where the couple and their 2-year-old had slept, adding to the disturbing scene. Overall, the apartment was filthy and reeked of neglect. Observers noted that Zachary exhibited an unusually calm demeanor despite the situation. This leads us to the next part of the incident, which is the early investigation and parental interviews. Hours after the discovery, Special Agent Chris Calloway interviewed both of the parents, Cheyenne Harris, which is the mother, and Zachary Koehn, which is the father. They initially claimed that everything was normal until that morning. They stated that Cheyenne had fed Sterling around 9 a.m., but later when Cheyenne detailed her routine on the day of Sterling's death, it revealed a significant gap where Sterling was left unattended. This discrepancy, along with Zachary's casual attitude and lack of visible distress, deepened investigators' concerns. Soon, they admitted that they hadn't checked on Sterling since the previous day. Given the severe neglect and physical evidence, authorities quickly escalated the investigation. Both Zachary and Cheyenne were arrested and charged with first-degree murder and child endangerment resulting in death. The following part is the autopsy and forensic evidence. The autopsy of Sterling Koehn was performed by Dr. Dennis Koehn on August 31st, 2017, which was the very next day. The examiner found that Sterling's death was not a result of sudden infant death syndrome, as Zachary initially suggested. Instead, Sterling's autopsy showed that he died from a combination of malnutrition, dehydration, and also an E. coli infection that entered his body through his skin. It was broke down due to the fact that Sterling Koehn sat in his own feces and urine for a number of days from severe neglect. The autopsy further revealed Sterling weighed a mere 7 pounds, far below the 5th percentile for his age. Then a forensic entomologist, Dr. Timothy Huntington, was brought in to analyze the maggots found on Sterling's body. He identified the flies as cuttleflies, which are attracted to urine, feces, and other bodily fluids. And by observing the stages of life of the scuttleflies on Sterling Koehn, Dr. Timothy Huntington concluded that the initial infestation began around August 20th or 21st, indicating that Sterling had been left in his swing without a diaper change for at least 9 days, possibly as long as 14 days, taking in consideration of the time it would take for the flies to find and reach the diaper.
In this case, the forensic expert witness that was called was Dr. Huntington, forensic specialized entomologist, to give his opinion regarding this gruesome case. The entomologist had an analysis towards the maggot found in the diaper of the deceased, known as cuttlefly, or its specific name, Megacillia scalaris, which comes from the Foridae family, rather than the blowfly, which is usually found on dead bodies. In this case, the victim was infested with maggots when he was still alive. The entomologist states that the infestation occurred due to the victim being not clean or the diaper was not changed, in which provide a food source in the form of feces, urine, or a stream diaper rash, which caused the maggots to breed in that condition. The entomologist had determined this species of flies by observing the live larvae and the dead larvae obtained from the crime scene under the microscope, in which highlights the characteristic of these larvae species, such as presence of small little fleshy spines and the shape, as well as the lack of the maggots, in which indicate both live and dead sample was coming from the same species. According to Dr. Huntington, flies undergo complete metamorphosis like a butterfly. Furthermore, temperature also plays a crucial factor for fly development, and it was believed that the temperature during the incident was at 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 29 degrees Celsius. Entomologists had used a degree of principle where the duration for flies to be developed can be calculated based on the time period at different temperatures. The data obtained was then compared with the scientific publications from 1991, in which the development of the scuttlefly was determined based on the range of temperatures. From the findings, Dr. Huntington managed to conclude that the period of infestation was in between 9 to 13 days, the duration in which the victim had been neglected to fend for himself.
Evidence in the Sterling Koehn case. In the tragic case of Sterling Koehn, the use of entomological evidence played a critical role in determining the circumstances surrounding the infant's death. Entomology, the study of insects, provided crucial insight into the timeline and condition leading up to Sterling's demise. This evidence not only highlighted the severity of the neglect but also underscored the length of time the infant endured suffering. By examining the insect found on on Sterling's body, experts were able to piece together a detailed and harrowing account of the event that transpired the day leading to his death. One of the entomological evidence found is the presence of maggots. The most significant entomological evidence in this case was the presence of maggots in Sterling's diaper and clothing. Flies were attracted to the hot room Sterling was left in, and they laid eggs on his body. These eggs hatched into maggots, which were found crawling in his diaper and clothes. This indicates that Sterling was left unattended in the same diaper for an extended period. Next is the timeline of maggot development. A forensic entomologist analyzed the insect found on Sterling's body and concluded that the baby had been in his sleep in the same diaper for 9 to 14 days. This development timeline of maggot provided a crucial time frame for investigators to understand how long Sterling had been neglected. Third, the impact of environmental conditions.
Fine.
How warm was the room?
It was comfortable, but it didn't seem too hot to me.
Yet it soon becomes clear that things aren't adding up.
The hot room where Sterling was kept created an ideal environment for the rapid development of the fly larvae. The heat accelerated the life cycles of flies, leading to a quicker hatching of eggs and growth of maggots. This environmental factor further corroborated the extended period of neglect. The fourth, cause of infection.
How did the child stay in a swing for 2 weeks without diaper being changed, anyone checking on him? That's just beyond the pale.
According to the autopsy, Sterling died from a combination of malnutrition, dehydration, and an E. coli infection.
The maggots in Sterling's diaper were not just a sign of neglect but also a contributing factor to his death. The feces in his diaper had eaten through his skin, allowing E. coli bacteria to enter his bloodstream and cause a severe infection. The presence of maggots highlighted the critical lack of hygiene and care, which led to the fatal infection. By leveraging this expertise of forensic entomologists, the prosecution was able to demonstrate the prolonged and severe neglect Sterling Koehn suffered. This entomological evidence was instrumental in painting a vivid picture of the circumstances leading to his tragic death and was pivotal in securing the convictions of his mother, Koehn Harris, for first-degree murder and child endangerment resulting in death.
The judgment process in the Sterling Koehn case involved several key stages, from the initial discovery of the crime to the final sentencing of the parents, beginning with the discovery of the body on August 30, 2017, and followed by the investigation. Then, both parents, Zachary Paul Koehn and Koehn Harris, were arrested and charged with first-degree murder and child endangerment resulting in death. Prosecutors charged the parents based on the evidence of extreme neglect, including the forensic entomology findings. For Zachary Paul, trial and verdict was held on November 2018. Koehn was convicted guilty of first-degree murder and endangering the welfare of a child, which resulted in his death. The jury came to the conclusion that he had purposely caused Sterling to perish from infection, dehydration, and malnutrition. He received a life sentence without the chance of release. While for Koehn Harris, trial and judgment was held on February 2019. Koehn Harris was also convicted guilty of first-degree murder and endangering the welfare of a child, which resulted in her death. The jury found that she was accountable for her son's death. Despite the defense claim that she was experiencing postpartum depression, she received the same life sentence without her chance of release as Koehn. Both parents were held accountable for the severe neglect and the appalling conditions that led to Sterling's death. The case drew widespread attention due to the harrowing details and the extreme neglect involved. As we come to the end of our presentation on this tragic case of Sterling Koehn, it is essential to reflect on the profound impact this case had on all who have learned of it. Sterling's death served as a heartbreaking reminder of the extreme consequences of neglect and vital need for vigilance in protecting our most vulnerable. Through this case, we have explored the devastating circumstances that led to Sterling's untimely death. the thorough investigation that uncovered the severe neglect he suffered, the critical role of forensic entomology in establishing the timeline of neglect, and the legal processes that held his parents accountable, resulting in the life sentences without the possibility of parole. Thank you for your attention and commitment to understanding and addressing the serious issues highlighted by this tragic case. That's all for us.